What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Gin College Podcast. I'm your host, John J. II, alongside one half of the Turkey Bowl 2024 Turkey Bowl Championship. He's the holder of the Platinum Platter, also our sports expert here at the Gin Sports Network, Tony Manerick. Tony, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Doing good.
Well, we're happy to have you and welcome everybody. This is the 100th episode of the GCP. So thank you for being along for the ride thus far. We got a great episode in store for you guys. Kind of an outlook looking forward to the college football playoff as it's only a few weeks away, at least till it's finalizing its formation. As it currently stands, there's teams leapfrogging other teams. But also, our sights are set on college basketball, which is in full swing right now. The early to mid-season, preseason, I'll call it, pre-conference season tournaments that are going on across the league. A lot of exciting stuff is happening. And amongst other things, there's recruits that are signing up, especially talking about our Michigan State Spartans, which you can see in the banner in the background for Tony. But listen, there's a lot going on in the college sports landscape. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of moving parts and navigating everything with NIL, with all the money that's going around, especially in college sports. It's a lot that's going on. I guess, Tony, how are you taking all this in with the ever-changing landscape that we're dealing with in college sports? How do you deal with all of it?
Well, this is a good time of year if you're a college sports fan because you got, end of the college football season coming up. So you get, especially if your team's still in it. Obviously, State didn't have the greatest year this year, so I'm not quite as locked into it as I normally am. But if you got a contending team, it's always really exciting. And then you got college basketball starting up. And then, like you said, you definitely, like for college basketball, usually your recruits are signing around this time. I mean, sometimes you get some in the fall or the spring, but most of your recruits already commit before their high school season. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So you kind of got to balance it all, what's going on. But it's always an exciting time of the year. And now, especially last couple of years and now going in the future, they're trying to get, especially in college basketball, trying to get a lot more like college basketball good teams and tournaments. So you're getting a lot better matchups, and it's actually a lot more exciting because usually the non-conference of college basketball used to always be really boring because you would get them playing, San Jose State Community College and all that in the first 5 games. But now you're getting Duke, North Carolina as or not Duke, North Carolina, because they're in the same conference, but like the Dukes, Arizonas, and the Michigan, and tonight Michigan and Auburn's playing, and then you have Michigan State and Duke, Michigan State and Kentucky, Michigan State and North Carolina, and all that. You're getting a lot better games and a lot high profile matchups that you normally don't see.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with these preseason tournaments that we have, I think it really brings. It's almost like a preview for March Madness in a way, and I think that's good for college basketball. I think it's good to get them involved with some good teams early on, especially looking at Michigan State. Obviously, we might be a little bit biased talk about the Spartans, and I can say this with a straight face and an open mind, open heart every single time that Michigan State basketball is probably the sport and team that I'm the most passionate about across the board, across every sport, across every league, you name it. That's the team that I follow the closest, and I think that might speak for you as well. And I'm not sure, but I think I'd go out on a limb to say that that's true for you as well. But before we get into college basketball, that's going to take up a lot of the latter half of the podcast. I want to talk about the college football playoff picture, how it stands currently as we're looking at it. We noticed that because Oregon beat USC, they leapfrogged Ole Miss for that coveted sixth spot in the college football playoff rankings. Ohio State at 1, Indiana and Kurt Signetti at number 2, Texas A&M at 3, Georgia at 4, Texas Tech at 5, Oregon at 6, Ole Miss at 7, Oklahoma surprisingly sticking in there at 8, and 9, Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman, and 10, Alabama. Then you got BYU at 11 and Miami, Florida at 9 and 2, sitting at the 12 spot with Utah on their heels. So I guess with those teams that I just rattled off in rapid fire fashion for you, who stands out to be the best? Who is the team to beat? And obviously, without looking too far, there's a couple teams sitting at the top there. Even if the team that's sitting at the very top, we're not the biggest fan of. There's still the top two are in the Big Ten. They represent the Big Ten conference. So which team is sticking out for you to possibly win it all? I guess it's still early projection, but who are you looking at right now?
Well, obviously, if we are talking about the top two teams are Big Ten, and if the season ended today, they'd play each other in the Big Ten championship game. So you could kind of see how well they match up with each other before the playoffs. So that'd be very interesting to see. Obviously, you have one more week or one more game. So we'll see if they can. Obviously, Ohio State has Michigan. I'm not sure who Indiana plays, but they're probably, if the odds are Ohio State most likely will win. Obviously, Michigan fans are going to say otherwise, but if you just go what sports books are saying, Ohio State's favored, Indiana's going to be favored. If they both win, they're going to be playing for a Big Ten championship, and you're really going to get to kind of see what they're both made of. And if Indiana has had some very close games where you're like, I don't know, and then they've looked completely dominant, beating people by 50. So you're not sure if, Ohio State's a good test, and we'll see how they do. And then honestly, the surprise for me is probably if you told me, week one that Texas A&M was going to be right there at 3, I would have been like, I don't know. I could have seen them winning going 8-4, 9-3 all day, but how well they've played and how well they've looked has kind of been a little shocking to me. But other than that, Alabama's there. You're not shocked at that. Georgia's there. That's not really a shocker. Oregon was there last year and then just did not look good in the playoffs. So they're not really shocking that they're in the playoffs or, top 6 team. Ole Miss, a little shocking, I guess, but not really because they're still, if you told me they're a top 10 team before the season, would not be shocked. And then I guess looking at UIU and Miami, I guess would be the ones that are sneaking in right now at 11 and 12. I don't know if you'd really be like, I'd be shocked. But BYU, obviously, you probably weren't really expecting them to be 10-1 right now. So yeah, that's a little shocking. But Miami, they got Carson Beck. Carson Beck had a couple of very bad games that he didn't look great, but he's kind of, stepped it up the last few games. So, there's not any blatant, never seen that one coming at all from, the top 12, really.
Yeah, you got the Lane Kiffin recruiting show with Ole Miss. Obviously, can't be too happy about Oregon jumping over him, leapfrogging. That's basically the highlight of today. And then you look at any team from 15 on in. If Michigan goes on and beats Ohio State this weekend, that's going to knock them down. They're sitting at 9-2 with Miami at the number 12 spot. You got Utah, Vanderbilt, and Michigan at 13, 14, 15. That there could be a lot of movement there here in the last week, especially moving into conference championship games. There's a lot of movement potential still on the table. So this is still a broad projection. A lot of movement is still possible here.
Yeah, if
And yeah,
Vanderbilt squeaks into the playoffs now, that I would say that's a complete shocker. If you told me that before the college football season started, that Vanderbilt would be in the playoffs,
right. That's
I
right.
don't think anybody saw that one coming.
Well, they have
You're a
they
competitive
yeah.
team, but I don't think a top 12 playoff team anybody thought was coming in the 2025 season for them.
Right, absolutely. So they're capable of surprise, and we've seen that. Right, so there's a lot of movement still on the table here. And I know Michigan and Sharon Moore, and Bryce Underwood, they got their sights on a playoff bid, even if it's at that 12 spot, which I don't think is out of the question. They might even move into the 10s. I don't think they'll go below that just because that's how it's drawn up right now. But crazier things have happened in the dire weeks. So obviously the feather in the cap for Michigan's Sharon Moore and the entire Michigan Wolverines empire is beating Ohio State last year. And then Ohio State proceeding to win the Natty right after Michigan won, before and after Jim Harbaugh's departure from the program. But there's a lot going on. And I'm excited to see how it all ends up, regardless if our Spartans aren't in it. I guess let's just review what the Spartans have gone through, I guess, without kind of going back and dissecting the past and looking at the Mel Tucker era. Is Tuck coming or not? That whole thing, that's still a big question mark. But at the same time, talking about the vacated wins, I guess, how do you feel Michigan State football is left. Obviously, Coach Smith was taking on a tall task with the Michigan State Spartans. Now, with all these recruiting violations and things like that that are going back before his tenure, and also he's supposedly on the hot seat. He's bought out until the late 2020s. There's a lot of question marks. I think it's a cloudier era for Michigan State football than it even was before Jonathan Smith came to the program. So I guess what's the outlook for Michigan State for you that you have right now, if you have one?
They have to change a lot. I don't think it's just on Jonathan Smith personally. I mean, they have a lot of holes that need to be fixed. It The thing is like you watch them, and for 2.5 quarters or even 3 quarters, they look really good, and you're like, well, I mean, are they a 10-win team? Probably not, but are they an 8-win team? Yeah, sure. And then all of a sudden, well, the last probably 2-3 games, the fourth quarter is just, or even the second half of the fourth quarter, they've looked like a 0-12 team. Can't stop anybody. Offense looks lost. Bad mistakes. Poor clock management. Just shanked punt here, or a muff punt there, or a bad interception, or a bad drop. They just can't close a game out. So, like I said, it's not just on Jonathan Smith. I think the thing that gets fans most riled up about Jonathan Smith is it seems they always say you need a coach that's, calm, cool, and collected. But the problem is he seems too calm and too cool. Like he has no fire, especially like when you're losing to Michigan. You have to go out there and be like, I want to change this. I think it always goes back to Mark D'Antonio, the Pride Before the Fall speech, where you could tell he was irritated, pissed off, and he wanted his team to win. Where Jonathan Smith doesn't seem to have that raw fight. And I think that's where a lot of fans are, well, me personally, I guess, but I think other fans will agree that I want to see my head coach, throwing some passion, getting really in players' faces, going, "Hey, this is a rivalry game. You're in a Big Ten, you're in a premier conference, probably top two conference in college football. You can't just phone it in. You have to put in some passion, put in some fight, and show up." And they just haven't been doing that. So what they need to do, I don't know. There's probably I could list off 50 things they need to do, but whatever it is, they need to start. They need to start doing something. But just sitting there, like right now, you're in no man's land. You've had a bad season. You're 3-8. Haven't looked great. Haven't looked competitive. And every fan and Michigan State probably beat writers sitting there calling for Jonathan Smith's head, need him to be fired. And Michigan State isn't sitting there going, nope, we're going to keep him. We believe in him. We're going to give him one more year. But they're also saying, nope, we're not going to fire, or we're going to fire him too. They're just kind of sitting there going, we don't know what we're going to do. So I think that's where a lot of Michigan State football fans are a little frustrated, because it's make a decision. Are you going to stick with them, or are you going to fire them? Like, just make a decision already.
Yeah, that's kind of it seems like that's where they're at right now. And unfortunately, with all these buyouts, these coaches are bought out several years ahead of time. And he had his stock to be a coach and to be brought to the program, especially to rebuild and basically pick up the pieces from the Mel Tucker era. It seemed like he was the guy to do it, with a great tenure at Oregon State, to come to East Lansing and hopefully build that program back. Hasn't panned out, but he's still guaranteed all this money. And with NIL, and since it's a income bringing sport, there's some cushion there. But at the same time, the endowments of the university, they got to be hurting. I mean, it's got to be falling on the pockets of the students at some point. You're talking about a lot of money being pushed out with very little to show for it. And it brings in the question of, why do we have these contracts that are set out years and years and years ahead of time if these coaches aren't delivering, and they're not even proving themselves for a single season? They're just brought in with the anticipation that they're going, past performance is going to guarantee future results. And I think that's a big problem. I think the coaches should have to prove themselves to some capacity before they're often offered a extension and offered a guaranteed contract. I guess, what do you think about that? Kurt Signetti earned it, I think, with
Yeah, but
Indiana, but
he
John Smith hasn't.
he was signed right off the bat, I think, to a 4-year deal, 4 or 5 years right off when he got hired on for his first year, before he had done anything. And that's the problem nowadays is if you don't bring your coach in from kind of like what Michigan did from your already existing staff, or like I mean I compare it to basketball, but like Tom Izzo took over for Michigan State from the exit from Jet under Jed Heathcote for 5 years. Unless you do that, to pull a coach away from another program, you have to give them these huge contracts, and you're taking a gamble that hey, he is going to take, like you said, take this success from this program and bring it to this one. Most of the time, they don't. I mean, everybody was talked about Jimbo Fisher at Florida State, and then he went to Texas A&M and fell flat on his face. Just wasn't anything special. Brian Kelly was a perennial 9-10 win team or coach at Notre Dame. Went to LSU and was a laughing stock for 2.5 years. So you're not guaranteed the same success in one program to another, no matter if you're what some may believe is a step up or a step down. And the thing is, like, look at the perfect example here is everybody's talking about Lane Kiffin might be leaving for, the Florida job or the LSU job or something like that. They're going to have to give him a massive contract to get him out of Ole Miss. And if he shows up to his new SEC school, if he leaves for an SEC school, which I would assume he will if he leaves his current job, if he shows up and doesn't do what they expect, which is probably 10 wins every year and making at least a chance at the SEC championship and making the college football playoff almost every year now that it's expanded to 12 years, everybody's going to say it's a failure and they probably might fire him in 3 years. And the thing is, he's proven to be a good coach, but if he just has a 3-year bad stretch, you're going to give him a 7-8 year deal worth probably well over 100 million, and you don't know if it's actually going to pan out. I mean, odds are it will, but you don't know that. And the only way you're going to get him away from Ole Miss is giving him a 6, 7, 8, 9 year deal worth ungodly money. But then it puts you in, a situation at that school that you are going to have to pay him an ungodly amount of money to fire him, or you're going to have to ride out as long as you can and hope it turns around.
Yeah, that, or you're going to have to pay him more to keep him there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To give him more incentive to stay and not take those
Mm-hmm.
opportunities elsewhere to get him some more money. And hopefully, you'd like to think, you look at the Brian Kelly thing. He had a pretty good thing going at Notre Dame. He left a good thing to then go to LSU and really do nothing. So it's really, you see that happen. You could even compare it to Lincoln Riley going to USC in a certain regard, but he's performed and done a lot better, I think, than John Smith has done in the last couple of years. But listen, it's neither here nor there. It just goes to show that past performance does not guarantee future results, and that could be more true in the world of college football coaching. So just one of those things. With Indiana facing Purdue, the only team below Michigan State in the Big Ten standings to go, I think their chances are pretty high that they're going to make it to a Big Ten championship. I think that's automatic, really.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's some movement to be made, I think, in the last week of regular play, but there's going to be, there's some teams that have somewhat solidified themselves at least to be contenders in the college football playoff here in the next weeks and months. So we'll have to look forward to it and wait and see what happens. But that begs the question too. When you got college football playoff rankings and you got AP polls, are rankings in general being muddled? Why do we have both? What number, when we see a number next to a team and they're playing against an opponent, what does that number signify? It's gone to show that I've seen, when I'm looking at scores, I'm looking at standings, whatever, I see the AP polls in one setting, and then in another setting, I see the college football playoff rankings. Those numbers could be different. It won't be by much, but those numbers are different. And it begs the question, what criteria are we looking at to have a college football playoff ranking compared to an AP poll ranking? And do you think rankings in general are being muddled? Why do we even have rankings? What's going on here?
Well, back when it was BCS and stuff like that, rankings did matter. And when you had just a one game championship where it's only two teams, rankings mattered because the number one ranked team played the number two ranked team. And was your national champion who won. That's who was crowned the champion. Well, then they went to I guess college football playoff was still called that. When they went to 4 teams, then it became, the rankings matter a little bit more, or a little bit less, because Now you're taking 4 teams, and a lot of times it was just basically the conference champions, unless the conference champion was a 2-loss team that didn't look that great. But most of the time, it was one of the 4 teams was a major one of the major Power Five at that time, Power Five conference champions, and were put in. Now that they've expanded to 12 teams, the rankings, especially AP poll, doesn't really matter. It's kind of the first half of the year is just kind of like give yourself confidence, go, hey, I'm ranked, look at me. And then it's okay, I beat a 22nd ranked team week 3. That's all it's really pretty much for the AP poll. Because now was it 3 weeks ago was the first release of the college football playoff rankings, and those are the ones that matter. AP poll means absolutely nothing now because it's the top 12 in the college football playoff ranking that go to the college football playoff and play for a championship. So you're kind of just going have just AP polls just a placeholder for the first 60% of the season, 70% of the season until the college football playoff rankings come out, and then those are the most important until the college football playoff starts, and then rankings are obviously absolutely useless again because it's just head-to-head matchups, bracket style, like college basketball, where it's just you're seated here now. You play who you have. You play who you get matched up against. You win. You play the next person. You win. You play the next person, and so on until there's one man standing. So rankings, just like I said, college football playoff rankings are the only ones that matter now this time of the year. And beginning of the season, I think is just something for fans to look forward to. You get the AP poll preseason, and then first couple of weeks, you're like, oh, we're ranked, and then rankings, like I said, until college football playoff come out, rankings really don't matter.
And that's what it seems like, that the AP polls are somewhat of a placeholder for a certain point in the season before the college football playoff picture becomes more solidified. Then the college football playoff rankings take over. It's kind of a mess right now. I think a lot of these rankings are in beta testing. I don't know if the AP and the college football playoff will kind of have a meeting of the minds and say, let's come together on this. Especially at this point in the season, it's like, why do we even have the AP polls? It's like, all right, the AP poll should be done, and now we're looking at college football playoff. I don't know what they're going to do with that. It seems like a charade. It seems like a label that's really, it's not really a big deal at the end of the day. And you talk about college basketball, especially. You mentioned this earlier in the green room. What are rankings even for in college basketball? Because you have so much movement. You have so much movement interweek that you hold on to that ranking throughout the week, and then the following Monday, then they're reset. But there's so much movement, so much change going on, and you really don't see. There's so many games too where you really don't see a lot of change. You don't see any solidification until really February, when you start to think about, okay, who's going to be in the tournament and who's not, who's going to be in the play-in and who's secured a spot. So I guess, how do rankings translate in college basketball, especially
Well,
in comparison to football?
if you think college football playoff rankings are getting to a point of uselessness, then college basketball rankings have gone way, way beyond the way useless because you're looking at resumes and you still rank teams, but everybody you talk to has, the Ken Palm and this people and this website that we use for quad 1 wins, for first quad 2 wins, first quad 3 wins, first quad 4 wins. So it's all about the selection committee picking the teams, and then they look at your, well, okay, or how efficient are you and who'd you beat and all that. They break it down of their own system of what is a quad 1 win to a quad 2 to a quad 3 to a quad 4 and all that. That rankings are just, you had them, and I think they enjoy it because you have a ranked team, and I think it really gets more fans when they say, oh, it's a top 15 matchup. You got, like today, Michigan's playing Auburn right now. You have a 7 ranked team versus a 21 ranked team. People are just kind of flashing through TV that don't know anything about basketball or college basketball are going to see, ooh, a ranked game, and they'll turn it on and try and enjoy it. So I think that's kind of mainly why they still have them. But when it comes down to the end of the season, it's all about the selection committee and picking resumes based on records and who'd you beat in your conference and did you win your conference? Did you win your conference tournament? How well did you do in your conference tournament? How well did you do in your conference? Did you play just a cupcake schedule in your preseason or your pre-conference, your early season schedule, or did you play tough teams and actually challenge your team? And did you win those games, lose those games by a lot, win them games by a lot? And it's a selection committee decision. It's not really we're taking the top 25 and putting them in the tournament. They don't work like that, because look how many, what was it? I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago. They had the 36th ranked team didn't even make the tournament because they looked at it and goes, well, resume wise, they lost here, fumbled here, didn't do what they supposed to did here, struggled in this part of the stretch, went on, ended the year poorly, or started the year really poorly and then ended strong. So rankings are just kind of a placeholder for the selection committee to kind of look at them and go, all right, thank you for giving me my 25 best teams or what you think they are. We're going to look at it, but don't really matter because we're going to pick our teams that we think should make the field and play for a championship.
Absolutely, yeah, and it seems like even when you're talking that type of verbiage, the intangibles of strength of schedule, of how well did they perform in this stretch of the season, how well did they perform in conference play, maybe against non-ranked teams in the conference. There's a lot of those elements that come in where that number next to their team name, if they have one, doesn't mean much. You know what I'm saying? So, in that same vein, we're talking about the preseason, early season tournaments. The NIL is rearing its head again. The Big 12 Players Era Tournament signs a $50 million hoops deal with NIL payouts. The future scope of the Players Era Festival is starting to formulate with a $50 million equity partnership with the Big 12 announced Monday, and plans for the 32-team event beginning next season. Started with 8, it's now 18. They're planning for 32 next season. And obviously this is money coming into the programs that are participating. But I guess, how do you think NIL being mixed in with these early season tournaments? You have 8 ranked teams playing out of the 18 participants in this year's tournament, in the Players Era tournament. So how do you think NIL is really affecting these early season tournaments, and I guess college basketball as a whole? It's becoming a mainstay with college basketball and college sports entirely. What do you think about the integration?
Well, was the Champions Classic, which has been around for 15 years, was kind of I'd say one of the first ones where as big name people played in it, because you had Kentucky, Michigan State, Duke, and Kansas. So that was kind of like the only big tournament, I would say. I mean, you had the Maui Invitation, but only one or two maybe big names would be in it, and they might not even play each other because it's tournament style. And then but as the years have went on, you've gotten this year's Fort Myers. Now they have the Players Area started last year. Now they're expanding this year and plan on expanding next year. And money, as a fan, it's really exciting because you get these Arizona, what was it yesterday? Alabama and Gonzaga, and you have Michigan State and Arkansas, and you have Michigan State and Duke and all that. And it's really exciting to watch and see these big games that normally the first 3 weeks of the season was always, oh, you're playing Oakland and you're playing, St. Bonaventure, and you're playing maybe Loyola. Like, you're not playing big name teams or, blue blood teams. Well, now you're getting that, but money is just taken over as so important that I only want to play these games because it brings me some NIL money, so I can go buy this player or get this player from here. And you're starting to buy your roster, and it's turning into very free agency NBA type, when this isn't NBA, it's college, but they've turned it into very, very much deeper pockets, make better teams. But in the money is very important because you can build a very good roster. A perfect example is Michigan State and Arkansas. Michigan State was on the lower end of Power 5 teams at their a little over 3 million dollar roster, and Arkansas was one of the most expensive at 22, or I think it was Arkansas or Kentucky.
They were up there.
Yeah, they both were probably high teens, low 20 million, and State beat them both. Is that necessarily going to happen all the time? No, but coaching still matters, and you still need players to want to play for you and be ready to die for you on that court, where now you're getting a lot more just, hey, you're paying me to be here and thanks, but I'm going to play my basketball and oh, we lost, whatever. I send my check over because I still need to be paid. Where back in old college basketball, you lost a game, coach was yelling at you and you're like, I'm just here to go to school and play basketball and now I'm sucking at basketball. This makes it way worse. So now everybody getting paid, you get a lot less of that fight and them junkyard dog type players. You get a lot less of that because now it's just pay me, and the junkyard dog guys aren't as flashy or going to put up 30 points and shoot 10 threes. They're they're gonna go to a mid major or something, and you may never hear from them. Where them guys used to be, the glue guys to a roster of a Kentucky, of a Duke, of a Kansas, of a Gonzaga. Them guys that just fight and fight, and you just won't give up. But you're starting to lose that. But that's the way they wanted it. They wanted money to come in, and they wanted players to be paid and have sponsorship deals and make money, bring money to the schools that way. Well, now you have it, but now it's getting, yes, man, it's getting out of hand. But
Yep. The
that's
waters
the
are
way
getting
it is.
muddy.
Yeah, but if you want to look at it as I don't really care as about the money, it is you're getting way better matchups starting the year. You're getting big names playing these other power conference teams, and it's good basketball. It's probably better for the league competitive wise, but yeah, I mean, when you have a positive, there's always something that's right around the corner that you look at and go, well, but I don't like that. And it's all about the money now. So I mean, if you like I said, if you like power conference teams playing each other early in the year, then you do not care about the NIL 50 million and what they're trying to do and throwing money here, throwing money there. If you just sit back and enjoy the game, watching the college basketball and the good games, then you're happy as ever for this.
I guess the only solace to it, and we knew this would happen. Okay, so ever since NIL was introduced, and trust me, I'm not against college athletes and college teams getting paid auxiliary funds. Just because they're income producing sports, I think that they've already brought in some income that way. But with the NIL, I think the bigger problems are with the individual athletes that are being paid for, sought after. Transfer portal gets started, brought into the conversation. But with the 32 teamer potential for the Players Era tournament, I think that might even the playing field a little bit because you're talking about giving teams that might not be ranked, that might not be those Power Five teams. You're giving them the money that these other teams are also getting. So you're kind of spreading the wealth, so to speak. But I've talked about this with Sobo till I was blue in the face. It goes hand in hand. NIL, transfer portal, muddling the waters between college basketball, the old school college basketball, which a lot of these Hall of Fame coaches that are still coaching, they know the golden era, especially Tom Izzo, the Coach K era, and John Calipari, all these guys, even Bill Self, these guys know what it's like. But to conform and to adjust to the new age of college basketball, college athletics with NIL and the transfer portal being a huge factor, it makes it more difficult to build teams and to build that cohesion, that team chemistry, because that if this player doesn't like how they're playing, they don't like their minutes, they don't like something or the other, they can jump ship and go play for another team. We saw that happen with Trey Holloman. Now he's with NC State. So my mentality is if you don't want to build yourself with a program and you have bad blood, then we don't really want you there anyway. But I guess, and that it's a tug of war because back in the day, you couldn't just leave and play at another school the following year. You had to wait and then play the following year. So then you're already missing out on a year of eligibility. So there's some muddling of the waters there, but it's a tug of war and it's conforming. And a lot of these old heads, these Hall of Fame coaches, are forcing themselves to conform or jump ship. A lot of
Look
these
at
guys are retiring if they don't want to deal with the new
yeah, but
age of it.
look at you talk about jumping ship. Look how many players that you've never heard of will play for maybe 3% of college players will play for two schools in their career. Now you're talking about lots of players are playing four different schools in 4 years. because they go, oh, well, didn't like it here. Oh, this guy's paying me more money. I'm jumping to here. Oh, well, I didn't play as well there. I'm going to jump back to here to get more money or more playing time. Oh, I didn't like it there. Well, I played really well there, and I'm going to jump to Gonzaga or something big because they paid me a lot of money, and I'm going to just, hopefully play for a championship there. Where you didn't have a lot of player development. You don't have a lot of player development now because the player don't want to sit behind people and wait. They want to be the guy now, and they'll go, if I'm not the guy here now, I will jump somewhere that I will be the guy now. And
Right.
back in the day, like you said, the old school coaches, they would take a guy and maybe redshirt him his freshman year and then play, a little bit his redshirt freshman year, play a little bit more sophomore year, then all of a sudden take a big jump junior year and then be the guy junior and senior year. But you had to wait 3, 4, 5 years. Now, no one wants to do that. If you see a player get redshirted his freshman year, it's rare. You very rarely see someone redshirted for a freshman year because as soon as you say, "Hey, want you to come in, maybe get a better, more muscle on you, get in the weight room, see how we play, just learn behind these guys, and then I'll bring you in next year and you'll be ready to maybe start playing some minutes." 90% of these high school kids or whoever's coming in as a freshman are going to go, "Nope, I don't want to do that. I want to play now." So then they leave.
Yep, you see it happen, and even in the third element, if you want to bring that in there, talking about Max Christie and even Jace Richardson, you got the third element of scouts coming in and snagging these players that should be dynasty players for the college era. They come in, play a season, and they're gone to the NBA the next year. So it's like, how do you build a team anymore? It's really difficult. You're playing with a carousel of players. It's like, how do you build that chemistry? You got such a small window to build that team chemistry, that cohesion, and then to build a team, whether you want to build their jump shot, whether you want to build their muscle mass, whatever it is, you have such a finite window of time where you have to really build those relationships. And a lot of times with the given, state of college sports, college basketball that we're living in, sometimes that's not even enough. Tom Izzo would go and visit players at families at home and say, "Hey, I want your kid to play for me." And I'm sure he still does that in the recruiting process, but he has to pick and choose of how close he gets with certain players because he doesn't know how long he's going to have them.
He's got to find his players, and that's what you have to do in college basketball nowadays. Is this player going to want to be coached? Is he going to let me, yell at him when he makes a mistake, or is he going to turn when adversity hits? Is he going to turn and run the other way? So you have to find. Before it was just trying to find talent that maybe others didn't see. Now it's, can I find the right attitude that another team might not want or doesn't see? And will they buy into what I want to do as a coach or as a team? Or are they just going to be like just another guy that's just, hey, I'm going out. Hey, you're brought me here to shoot 23s. I'm just going to shoot. And it's like, well, no, I need you to play a little bit, do a little bit of defense, maybe rebound and stuff like that. And if they're like, nope, ain't going to do that, then you're like, I don't care how great a talent you are. I don't want you on my team because you're not going to buy into what I want. And you might be, I don't want to say a cancer, but you might kind of rub off on other guys that go, well, he doesn't have to play, he don't have to rebound, he don't have to play defense. Why do I have to? And then you just lose your team and lose the locker room. So you have to find your guys that are going to stand behind you and go 100%. For example, Tom Izzo, 100%. I want to be coached under you. You tell me what I'm doing wrong. You tell me what I need to do and what I need to work on, and I'll do that. So if you can find guys that'll buy into your program and want to be coached, sometimes you got to take maybe less talent to get a player like that because they're not going to jump ship most likely. They're going to want to stay with you at least a few 3, 4 years. Even if you can get a guy 2, 3 years nowadays, is like that's a success.
Right. Exactly. That's a great point too. Get those players that want to build with the program and create a legacy for when they get to the next level, God willing they do, that they got there because of their foundation that they built at a college or university. And then they can look back and be like, I stayed there for my entire tenure as a college athlete. So I have that to look back at. And then if you have some championships to build on that and to look back and build that legacy even more, then that's the icing on the cake. So I love seeing the Feast Week college hoops, early season tournaments. You got the Maui Invitational, You got the Fort Myers. You got the Players era, as we mentioned, amongst others. And I think all these tournaments are great that we're seeing here in the early season. But let's get into Michigan State basketball. They faced off against Eastern Carolina today. Uh, and I love what I'm seeing with this team. And Tom Izzo said it himself. This is one of the best Michigan State teams that he's had in years. And I think that's saying a lot with a lot of great teams coming in and out of Michigan State within the last decade, saying that this is a team that he looks to build on and upon and with going in to the thick and thin of the season, going into the conference play, going into games like we mentioned against North Carolina and Duke in early December. There's a lot of good things going on here, and I see a lot of leaders by committee. As I talked to Chuck about, this is last season, talked to Chuck about having a leader by committee, how important that is, but also at the same time having individual leaders on the floor, whoever that may be, whether that's Jeremy Fears, whether that's Jackson Kohler, whether that's whoever on the floor, having individual leaders on the floor while also having a leader by committee being the entire team, all 5 members on the team on the court. That's important. But you can have both, but I think it's very important to not just have a leader by committee. You got to have individual leaders. So what do you see in this Michigan State team that really impresses you, and what are some question marks you have?
Well, talent wise, I wouldn't say this is obviously a very high end Michigan State team that Tom Izzo's had, but this is probably one of the top 3 or 4 teams I've probably seen in my lifetime of everybody knows their role and isn't complaining and has bought in and wants to be there, and they'll do whatever it takes. If it's I'm going to get 20 rebounds and not take a single shot, I'm okay with that because that's going to get us a win. Am I going to get 16 assists or 5 assists and no points because I'm just out there to play defense and make sure this guy doesn't score on the opposing team? They will go, yep, I'm ready for that. And they have a lot of people on this team or players on this team that are just, I don't want to say just happy to be there, but you can tell want to play for Tom Izzo and want to play. They don't care if it's 4 minutes or 40 minutes. They want to play as much as they can, and they'll do whatever their role is, and they're happy to do it. That being said, you still need talent, and what was the big Achilles heel that they kept saying last year, and they, won the Big Ten, was it number 2 seed, made it to the Elite Eight, was their 3-point shooting. They always said, well, they can't shoot the three. If they ever get stuck, they can't get themselves out of it, and they just struggle on the 3-point ball. Well, at the start of this year, you kind of were like, same problem. It's just you basically copy and paste last year's team with a couple new faces, couple different faces, and now they can't shoot the three. Well, against Kentucky, they showed they have potential. Today, they showed they can maybe do it a little more consistently. They're still not doing great, but they're doing way better than last year. And if they can just shoot at a 33% clip, even a 32% clip as a team, they're going to be very dangerous because if they are on from 3, they play extremely good defense, they rebound very well, and they can score in transition like they always can, and they can score in the paint. Last couple of years, it was kind of you needed mid-range and good transition to score. They can score in the half court a lot better this year. They can score down low. They've rebounding very well. Cooper has made, I feel like, a very big jump. Played very good defensively, can rebound. He's developed a jump shot, which helps him a lot in the mid-range because everybody kind of backs off him, and he's tall enough. It's going to be hard to block his shot. Kohler's looked really good from 3, and the backup point guard, number 99, Divine, I'm not going to try his last name because I'm going to make a fool of myself. He looked amazing. Could hit from anywhere from 3. Great defense. He looks like his arms are about 10 times longer than his body. So he's played really good defensively. I think he had 16 points today, made probably 3 or 4 threes, looked really good, driving to the hoop, facilitating. So he's looked really good. Fears has looked great, leading the country in assists. I mean, Carr's just highlight reel no matter whenever he steps on the court, even if he misses a dunk, everybody's talking about it for 2 weeks because he jumped over 6 people to do it. And so and he can spark a team. Any dunk, all of a sudden, crowds into it. His teammates are into it, and that can change any game, anytime. They've looked really good. I mean, they made Kentucky. Shit, the one Kentucky player just quit basketball a couple days ago because they got beat so bad. So, I mean, they've looked really good against Arkansas, Kentucky. They have North Carolina on Thanksgiving Day. That'll be another good test. Your best test is going to be in what, 2 weeks or 10 days when they play Duke in East Lansing. So, I mean, that'll be a little, I mean, that's a March Madness game. That's a Elite Eight, Final Four game all the time, but it's going to be played in your home court or home on your home field. So you got to take that for a grain of salt. But if they can look really good, competitive, and obviously if they're playing like they're playing right now, they have a good chance of winning. And if they can do that, they're looking really dangerous. The only thing that scares me is they always brag about Tom Izzo as a second half, a March. He's a March coach. It's January, February, Izzo, April. So he's looking so good now. I hope the team can keep going. If not, it's going to really suck if they kind of get a lull in January, February. We're going, where was this team? Where was this, September, November, December team now that we're getting into the thick of the Big Ten? But if they can just consistently do what they've been doing, playing good defense, decently shoot the three. I mean, you don't need to shoot like today. They went, like 19 for 31 or something like that. It was something ridiculous. They shot really well, but you don't need to do that. But if you can just, shoot 40%, you know, you're going to be very hard to beat. And because they're defending, rebounding, diving for loose balls, and doing everything Thomas was asking them to do. And if they can keep doing it and not, hopefully, no injuries and nothing like that, just play like they're playing now, you were going to be talking number one seed, possibly Big Ten champs, and looking like a favorite to make it to the Final Four.
Yeah, there's some contenders to beat in the Big Ten for sure. Michigan's looking good. Illinois is looking good with all the overseas players that Illinois has. The Fighting Illini, they look solid. They look really good. I watched them play a few games so far, and they look good. But yeah, I like what I'm seeing. Jeremy Fears is taking over for Jaden Akins at that number one spot. Commanding the team. He's doing what he has to do. He got a taste of it last year, but he's growing into his own this year. Cohen Carr's flying high. He's the human highlight. Trey Fort is starting to take over for Cohen Carr a little bit when he has to, flying high a little bit himself. Cam Ward is a great addition as well that can really make an impact and brings a great vibe to the floor that is a rowdiness that really emulates what I've seen it from Carson Cooper. I've seen it from Jackson Kohler. I've seen it from Cohen Carr. These guys have an animation to themselves that really they have to grow into and really make their own. I think they're doing a great job of doing it. Don't get me wrong. I think they're going to lose some games and they're going to have to build on it. But going into conference play, playing as well as they have, where usually you see a loss or two by this point in the season, maybe not always, but you see usually a road bump that is a big wake-up call. They've fortunately made it out of those roadblocks, those road bumps, without losing a game thus far. So I want to see them ride this into the sunset, win as many games as they can. You got to win the easy games, especially early in the season, in these early season tournaments. Win as many games as you can. And if you go on and win this Fort Myers tournament, by all means, go ahead and do it. But damn, they look good, man. I don't want to gas them up too much because I know there's going to be some growing pains with this new team, this new regime, the chemistry. There's got to be that to grow higher. There's got to be a retest to grow higher as a team and to build on it. But I like what I'm seeing, man. I like what I'm seeing. A lot of the question marks that I've seen in past teams in the last 5 years, I'm not seeing those as much, and they're powering through them and facing adversity and correcting the issues quickly. So I really like what I'm seeing with this team, and Tom Izzo seems to have a great squad
Well,
this year.
like what Thomas always says, you learn more from a loss than you do a win.
Right.
So there probably will be a couple losses, but I do trust Thomas will look and go, see, all right, we lost because of A, B, and C. We need to work on that and fix that. And then they can fix those mistakes. I think they're definitely top 4 or 5 teams, 100% top 4 or 5 team in the Big Ten this year to be competitive. So I think they're
Absolutely.
right there. And I think if you're Purdue, Michigan, Illinois, you're looking at going, yep, we're going to have to play Michigan State and we're going to have to win to if we want any chance at the Big Ten. And if you're Michigan State, you got to look at them 3 teams, and definitely Indiana's looked pretty good. Wisconsin's not too bad. I mean, Oregon's not looked too bad. I mean, you got a lot of other teams sitting there that you, like you said, you got to win the easy games this part of the year, because as soon as you get to conference play, there is no such thing as an easy game. I don't care if they're 0-5 in the conference or 0-10 in the conference. They can still, a Big Ten team can turn around and still beat you no matter what day of the week.
That's right. That's why those conference games really mean the most, to build that conference stature and to build that conference ranking, and that record. To have a positive record and an overwhelmingly positive record in the conference is more important than any game they've played so far. So the hardest games are yet to come. The trials and tribulations are yet to come. So they can't take the foot off the gas. We've seen that a little bit with San Jose State. They got their asses chewed for it, and they made the correction in the second half. But they shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to do that. And I consider that a roadblock where they've lost games where they played like that and really had to fight from behind, really had to grind, and it still wasn't enough. So the fact that they almost let them take control, and even late in the game, they really kept that. They kept in the game, regardless of how hot they started. But I think that they're gonna. And obviously, there's so many games. You're gonna take some losses. It's almost inevitable. But if you can limit the damage and keep powering through, and build on those adversities that they're going to face, undoubtedly, then I think they're going to have a solid squad and a solid projection going into March. So, like what I'm seeing.
Playing very well.
Good deal. Well, we'll leave it at that. Tony, you got any final words, final thoughts before the holiday weekend is among us?
No, not really. I mean, I'm excited for what is that, Thursday? Yeah, it's got to be Thursday that the Michigan State plays North Carolina.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that
Thanksgiving.
game, and it's going
Thanksgiving
to
Day.
work out. I think they play at 4:30, so that'll be
Mm-hmm.
perfect right after the Lions game. So we'll get to watch some Lions. Hopefully, I mean, Lions and Thanksgiving usually doesn't end well, but hopefully they'll turn it around this year. And then, then you got the Michigan State game right after, so that'll be pretty exciting. And get to eat some good old turkey and ham, and that's pretty much all I eat. I just eat the ham and bread rolls and mashed potatoes. Not much of a turkey man myself.
What about
And
stuffing?
then, no,
No, like stuffing,
no,
huh?
not stuffing. Yeah, my sister eats all that. My mom and my sister love stuffing. But then you got, what is it, Saturday? It's got to be Saturday. Was it? I don't know what time the Michigan Ohio State game
That's a
is.
noon. I think it's a noon
It's
game.
a noon game again. I think it was noon last year too. Yeah, so that'll be entertaining to watch that. We're talking about rankings. The the rankings and college football playoffs kind of ruined that game, because before it was whoever won that game most likely was making the playoffs. Now I mean, obviously if Michigan loses, they're probably out, but Ohio State loses, they're in no matter what. So it kind of loses a little bit of the juice for I mean, obviously bragging rights, but other than that, like look at last year, Ohio State lost and won the championship. Was it
But they're
matter?
not. You can rest assured they're not going to take that game off. If they
You
don't
better
win
hope.
another game the rest of the season, that's the game they want to win. You got it.
I
You know
hope.
what I
I
mean?
hope so, because
Come on, man.
Michigan needs their shit kicked in because of their arrogance. So we'll see, though. I hope they beat the living crap out of them right in front of Portnoy, so you can sit there and cry right on the desk of Big Noon kickoff.
Oh man, he's been talking a lot of shit about Sparty too. So
He talks a lot of shit about everybody, but every time his team does something, oh, not our fault, someone else's.
yeah, classic Michigan fans. Hey, at least I'll give Portnoy some credit. He did go to Michigan. He's not considered a Walmart Wolverine. Like there's a lot of those out there. But yeah, whatever happens, happens. Whatever happens, happens. I gotta say though, T, I'm not a big Ohio State fan, and I'm not saying I want
I don't
Michigan
like
to
either of them.
win, but if I want Michigan to win any game, it's going to be this game.
Yeah,
You know what I
I
mean?
didn't
A
watch.
lot of Michigan State fans aren't on my side with that,
I
and
don't
I
think I.
understand, but it's hard to take it's hard to take the alternative. It's really hard to take either side, honestly.
I don't think I even watched the Michigan Ohio State game last year.
Really.
Just don't like either of them. No point. I can't cheer for both teams to lose because they can't end in ties. So no point of watching it. It's like watching two retards fight. You just feel bad for both of them.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We'll leave it at that, guys. Make sure to check us out on social media at Gin Sports Network is our Instagram. Find us on IG as well for the Gin College podcast at Gin College. Find us on our website, ginsportsnetwork.com, and find all of our links in the bottom of the podcast in the description. For now, I'm John J. II alongside our sports expert, Tony Manerick, for the Gin College podcast. Happy Thanksgiving and have a great weekend. We'll see you next time.